大家好，你好吗？我叫奥爱宁。Today's video is in Chinese. It's not in Chinese, it's about Chinese. There's literally no videos on the internet about GCSE Chinese, let alone 91 GCSE, because we're the first year going through this. So I thought, let me listen to that comment that I got a few hours ago and make a video in Chinese. You ready? So basically, I'm probably going to do a video on the 4 skills as well, but this is going to be a bit of an overview, mostly for GCSE, and how I improved my Chinese, because in May, my Chinese was terrible. I couldn't speak, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. In my Chinese listening today, there's only 2 questions that I didn't understand. In my writing, I wrote over a page of Chinese, so like the improvement's real, you know, we've got it. With that said, numero uno, no, we're doing Chinese. D-E. Speaking, 说, we 说汉语. Prep questions, that would be very good advice. Ask your teacher, be like, hey 老师, 你可以帮我吗? And get yourself some sample questions for speaking. You can get it online, to be honest. If you search up GCSE Mandarin, there should be a PDF that comes for edXL, and the website will come up for AQA, and it will have like a list of questions that you could be asked. It's not under student stuff, it would be somewhere under the teacher stuff. It's left me where it is, but you can go find that really easily. Go on Word, type, get yourself some perfect answers with 3 tenses, all the connectives, all the adverbs, all that stuff. Or if you want to be extra and practice Chinese, write the answers by hand. I wouldn't do that personally, because grammatical errors, you can get your 老师 to like check and help you, and then write it by hand if you want to do writing practice. But definitely prep some question answers, not for you to memorize, just so you have an idea of what to say and an idea of what the kind of questions will be. Tip 2, if you're looking for tenses for tones, because there's 5 tones in Chinese, Yo-Yo Chinese. If you search up Yo-Yo Chinese tenses on YouTube, best video ever. It teaches you how to sound Chinese when you do speaking. You don't need tones in GCSE Chinese, that's one thing to say. You don't need it till A level, but I understand if you want to use the language. We're in the same boat together, gotta learn those tones. And tip 3 for speaking, tick list. Because there's not much for Mandarin online, you're gonna have to make one yourself. If I had a digital copy, I would 100% Google Doc it in the description down here, but I don't have a physical copy. It's literally 6 connectives, 3 justified opinions, 4 adverbs, different tenses, and time phrases. Just make sure you're including everything in your speaking and try to be fluent. It's hard, but watch my last video, I think it's my last video, on language in general to get more in-depth tips when it comes to speaking, because I have a really good top tip in that video. Listening, do them all. The old GCSE edXL thingy, what's this called, a textbook, it has loads of listening exercises, right? Go on your shared resources or wherever your teacher has kept your listening exercises, do them all. Just do them, get used to hearing Chinese. I just did a listening paper, and it's actually, I don't know if it was easy, but I found it easy. They spoke very slowly. They were like, 我将来想当一名工程师，但是我的父母要我当一名医生. It was so slow. They would say each word and give you some time, so you should be okay. If you know your vocab, which is the next tip, vocab. Go on Quizlet, learn vocab, make sure you listen to it. This isn't French that you can try and make the sounds. This is Chinese. We have tones, we need to sound. I'm hitting myself and it hurts. Make sure you know your vocab. For listening, if you do nothing to prepare, if you don't do listening, learn vocab so you know what to hear. And like I mentioned in my last video, I think it was, for the listening, when you have your 5 minutes, go and write down words you think you're going to hear. 1、2、3 This is Lil. San. For reading, guess. If you don't know what it means, guess. I just did a reading and there was a word I didn't know. I saw the water radical, I saw the grass radical, and I was like, that's gardening. Literally guess. Learn your radicals actually. In the back of this book, there's a whole big chart on radicals, but if you go online, Yabla Chinese, Yo-Yo Chinese, Google Images will have you make sure you learn at least the most common radicals. Not because you're going to be using a Chinese dictionary anytime soon, but because it's useful so you can guess what the word is about. I'm like, okay, I see the water radical. This is probably about water. Next thing, annotate. When you're reading your text, annotate. If you have time to translate. Do that. Make sure you're like scribble, and you make sure you've got everything. And the next thing for actual like application to learning Chinese, not the GCSE, read a book. I have a few Chinese books. I got some in China. My school library has Chinese book. The Chinese department has Chinese books. But if you don't have access to Chinese books, ChineseReadingPractice.com. Is it .com or .net? But yes, ChineseReadingPractice.com. There's a Spanish and French equivalent. That's how I actually found it. They have traditional Chinese stories and Little Red Riding Hood, all that stuff, and it's just good. Go check it out. It's so helpful for reading. Fluent U and Fluentia. No, Fluentia is just Spanish. Fluent U. Go check it out. I want to do a whole video on that. We don't have time now because, you know, we're running out of time. Next, writing. This is my baby. See, of course I opened to pages where I haven't actually done characters. There we go. I have literally nothing else to say. This book. Next, okay, so if you do other languages, you would know at the end of each unit, at least for AQA, there's a writing, 90 words, 150 words, and a translation. Do it in Chinese. I have a little book. I gave it to my Laoshi just now, and she's helping me mark it overnight. It's sad, we don't have a textbook. I translated the question and the bullet points into Chinese, and then I did the question. And for the translation, instead of going from French to English or vice versa, we're going to Chinese. I just bought a French translation book for the purpose of revising Chinese. We have nothing, so we've got to go with the little we have. AQA, why you do me like that? Why? Next thing. Just do it. It sucks and it's like, oh, it doesn't work for me. The more you write it at the end of the day, the more you'll get used to it. I heard somewhere that you have to write a character 50 times to know it. I don't know, I just make sure I include it as much as possible. Next thing, make a story. I'm gonna have to insert it here or something, so let me move up. The way I remember the character for Germany is that there are two guys with 14 sausages and they have one heart. The 14 sausages unite the two guys of Germany. And I remember that they have like a president or prime minister and their chancellor. That's why it's two guys. I don't know where 14 came from. Sausages because schnitzel. Unified because Germany's a pretty peaceful country. That's how I remember Germany. I'll try and explain it here. That's literally it. That's my whistle-stop tour of everything for Chinese. I have such a thick folder. I've got this, I've got my textbook. It's a lot. We're gonna get through this, okay? And also remember, Chinese isn't the easiest language to learn, and even though yes, we're being asked the same as the other people, like with environment and global problems, the exam board aren't expecting loads and loads and loads and loads from you. You can give them loads and loads and loads, but don't stress too much. With that said, as always, make sure you smile, subscribe, study hard, slay hard, and I'm off to go look at some chemistry, so bye!